So here's my dilemma. I want my toolbox back on my truck, but I have this Bakflip 4 that covers the whole thing. And I'm going to attempt to take this panel out, which measures about a little over 18 inches, and put my toolbox, which measures about 19 inches, in place up here in the front, slide the entire Bakflip back, and instead of it butt up to the cab of the truck, it'll butt up to the toolbox. Right now we're beginning to take the rubber off so that we can get to these screws to take this little metal strip off and release these panels. So I'm going to take the rubber strip off of the back panel and the next panel, and I'm going to take this panel out. Let's hope it works. Okay, the rubber came off, and these are the aluminum tubes, and I kind of had to pry this side off a little bit. It was kind of sticky right in here, but it came right off. And you can see these things are held together with a rubber hinge that goes through some extruded aluminum on each panel. And I'm about to try to slip the panel off or that rubber hinge out. Okay, so the first panel slipped right out. The rubber came out of the second panel here and stayed in the first panel that I have leaned up against the table over here. Now, we're getting ready to take, this is the second panel out, and this is the panel that I'll do away with. So I have a little bit of a spacer in here to help it come out. And so far, it just slides right off of that rubber gasket. I hope it goes back together as easy. Okay, I put some Enforce lubricant along that rubber gasket about halfway because I think there'll be enough to carry all the way. And I started the rubber gasket in the channel, and so far it's going quite easily. Okay, now my gasket traveled a little bit to the far side, so I've got to pull it back. But other than that, this part has worked well. So here's what I have. This is the little extruded aluminum channels that we pulled out, and this is what holds the gasket onto the side of the Bakflip. This one goes to the back, and it's shorter than the one I replaced, so I had to slide it off, and now I'm getting ready to slide it in place to go here on the very back panel, and then I'll have to cut this piece of rubber off. Okay, I have the back piece on. I put the aluminum back on and put the two screws back in that hold the rubber gasket on. Now I'm going to go underneath and release the two bolts that let the whole Bakflip slide back, and I will slide it back where I want it to fit over my tailgate, and that will tell me how much of this aluminum stripping that is bolted, clamped onto my truck, I need to cut off because it's going to be too long once I shorten this up about 18 inches. So here's the finished product. There's my toolbox on there. Still a couple of hurdles to overcome, but I'm getting close to having it the way I want it. The Bakflip had a 1/2 inch lip right there that held a little gasket, and I had to take that off because my overall length was too long. So that's what got me what I needed. And I took a grinder with a cutting blade and I cut that little lip off, and it went fine. Everything fits good. The rails, I put the rails on and measured, and I cut the rails off to fit there, and everything fits there. We latch up, good seal. So far I'm pleased. So now I have my toolbox back on with a bed cover on.